Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of our Art as Wellness drawing series. My name is Mallory Montgomery and I am the art therapist from the Henry Ford Cancer Institute. This week we are going to pick up and continue working on our drawing process. In our first video we did a gesture drawing to sketch out this photograph, and we're going to use this painting as a little bit of a reference to help explain some of the artistic choices that I'm making when drawing. We're still using supplies you most likely already have in your own home. I'm going to complete this drawing with a mechanical pencil. If you are more familiar with some other tools like drawing pencil sets, feel free to break those out. The same rules still apply. So for today, we're going to use this photo of my dog to help complete a little bit more of this process here. When I was taught to draw, I was taught that after you do your gesture drawing, now you start to map out where all of your very dark places are. There are a couple of rules when adding dark, shadow, and low light to a drawing. The first rule is nothing should be darker than the pupils and the nostrils on your piece. So we're actually going to put those in first. As you can see on this finished painting, the darkest spots are in fact the pupils and the nostrils, and for the most part even this dark area is still a little bit lighter than those. The pupils and the nostrils are where no light escapes from. And if we know what the darkest part of our piece is, generally we know that nothing should be darker than that. So my dog has some very beautiful dark black spots. That being said, those can still catch the light and turn soft. So while I'm working, all of the dark marks that I make to indicate her spots are not going to turn out darker than these pupils and these nostrils. I like to start from the top and the left because I'm right-handed, so I'm not kind of smearing across. If you're left-handed, I would recommend starting from the top and right and coming this way. But since I'm right-handed, we'll begin. So I'm going to follow closely here. Some of these places I have already marked to help me. These spots should all be pretty dark, but again, not darker than my dog's pupils and nostrils. So we'll go ahead and we'll start filling in some of these places. My model is still with us. Of course, I just mentioned her, so she's sitting up and staring at me now. I'm going around, and every place I see a darker black, the black spots, I'm putting these in first. I'm not using a very firm hand. In fact, I'm being pretty gentle, and the reason for my gentleness is quite simply so I can make these marks darker in the future. And then if I see something where I have an extra line that I don't really need, we can go ahead and kind of erase it as we work. She does have some very long jowls, but perhaps I made those a little too long. And some lovely dark lips. And yes, when she drinks water, watch out, it's like a waterfall out of her mouth. We have some dark spots over here along her shoulder, and coming down here, her big cow spot. And of course her rump spots. She has a nice shadowy dark area right here on her leg that I'm looking at here. And this side of her tail is pretty dark, as well as some various spots. up and along here. There are also some shadows that are darker than her fur that we can kind of suggest live here. So right here, I drew some dark spots first and then I shadowed over them, and it made my dark spots even darker. That's kind of what we're going for as we continue to move around and we start adding some more information here. So now that I feel that I have a lot of my dark area appropriately marked in, we can start taking a look at some of these lighter silver areas. If I were to go back and lightly shade, it will make all of these areas here that we just colored over darker, because we're adding a second layer of graphite on top. Now anywhere where there's a highlight, this area back here, all of that, bless you, Arwen, we're going to leave these areas alone. And if I make a mistake, here her kneecap is actually a little bit lighter, well, we can just erase that right now. It's easier to erase the sketch than it is to erase more finished parts of this drawing. I'm also going to go ahead and get the line of her tummy, this back leg. And this is all still pretty sketchy. I'm not getting into detail work yet. Careful of that highlight here on her back. We're almost to a very fun part of this exercise. She has a little bit of a shadow in her chest and some grays over here. And coming on down, and most of her head is gray. Very pretty silvery gray. Except for that white blaze. Skipping her eyebrow there, and into the ear. So while this is still a sketch, while we've still got a lot of finishing work to do, we can also start looking here, and a lot of leg, in particular those areas here are in shadow, so we can go ahead and put those in there, as well as this leg, particularly on the back side. Now we made up that paw, so I can kind of determine that it's hiding a bit, and then up through here, and also on the bottom of her chest. So that would be a first pass of shading. And then the next thing to do is take your handy dandy finger, or a handy dandy tissue, and put it over your finger. About so, and lightly blend. You're not losing those spots by any means, but you are softening the work that you did, blending the marks together. And if we make a mistake and we go on the outside over here, we can still erase at this stage. So really, drawing is about swinging back and forth between dark areas and light areas, using that eraser because it is, and worrying about the details later on. Go over here and erase that extra stuff. Now, if you accidentally erase too much, well, just put it back in. You've already done it once. You know what to do. Capture these highlights on her chest. And already she's looking more and more like a finished dog. Particularly this highlight on her foot. as well as some coming down her back and then putting a line again. Now anywhere where you may have pushed too hard and lost some definition, lost some shape, that's all right. We'll go back, we'll add these things back in. You've already made those marks once, so you can absolutely make them a second time. Bring back some whites to her eyes and on her eyebrows here, her blaze. So you can see already, just in doing a little and in blending that sketch, we've already begun to make different levels of lights and darks. We'll go back and forth in future videos, alternating between the darks and the lights, really pushing those blacks in the next episode to start to get us more toward this finished formation. If you have any questions about today's video, please let us know in the comments and show us what you're drawing along with this technique. I hope to see you again for our next installment of our Art for Wellness videos. For more information on cancer support services, please visit us at henryford.com/cancer support services. And until next time, be well.